This thing sounds so good. How's it going, guys? Today I'm going to show you what it's like to drive the all-new CT5-V Blackwing, aka the replacement to the CT5-V. In 2023, it's a very rare thing to have a sports sedan available with a manual transmission, particularly one with this much power and that looks this good. Well, the Blackwing is attractive and luxurious. The real magic happens under the hood. This is a 6.2-liter supercharged V8 that makes 668 horsepower and 659 pound-feet of torque, capable of rocketing the CT5-V Blackwing from 0 to 60 in just 3.4 seconds, or 3.6 with the manual transmission. We've also got a cool little badge here that says handcrafted by Chase Duvall. Thank you very much, Chase. There are 9 different color options to choose from. This is Rift Metallic, as well as 3 different wheel styles to choose from, all of which are 19-inch wheels. You can also get optional $9,000 carbon ceramic brakes, which this one has been fitted with, but I recommend saving the $9 grand for tires if you want to take this thing out on the track, because you're probably just going to replace it with steel aftermarket rotors and cheaper pads that work just on the track instead of having to replace those carbon rotors and pads every so often. It's a really good looking sedan. I like the badging on the rear. Check out that quad exhaust as well as that rear diffuser. Let's go ahead and check out the interior before we take it for a drive. Starting with the rear of the Blackwing, I love the Alcantara backing of the front seats. Plenty of legroom in here. I like the Alcantara headliner as well. Not quite enough headroom. Honestly, I wish there was a little bit more, but it is a pretty nice space to be. These are the upgraded performance bucket seats, which I highly recommend. Not only do they look better, they also support you more when you're driving really quickly in the twisties. Now, to fire up that supercharged V8, we've got a start-stop button to the right of the steering wheel. We'll turn that on. We've got a nice digital infotainment screen here, which is touchscreen, responds really well. There are some hard controls, but I found myself just using the touchscreen quite a bit more. Now, this car has a 10-speed automatic, but I would recommend getting this with a manual. It's a really rare thing these days to have 3 pedals in a sports sedan, especially one with well over 600 horsepower and 4 doors. So honestly, while the 10 speed's all right, please do yourself a favor and get the manual. The steering wheel feels great in your hands. It's got a series of controls. If we click the V button right here, it's kind of like BMW M mode, where you can customize all of the different options, steering, suspension, engine, brake feel, so that you can quickly get to your favorite setting right there. Now, we also have traction control management right here, which is pretty cool to have located on the steering wheel. If we look at the display right here, it's inactive. Now we're in wet mode, dry mode, sport mode. I like it in race 2 mode. Gives you a little bit of forgiveness, but also doesn't, overbear with a very, very intense level of traction control. This level gives you tons of confidence behind the wheel that you're not going to crash, but also gives you some play to work with when you start oversteering or you approach the corner a little bit too fast. Now we've got a fully customizable instrument cluster right here that is configurable via this mode selector. So if we go ahead and use this mode selector right here, watch what happens to that beautiful digital instrument cluster. We're in sport mode, switching into sport right now. It does take a little bit. I feel like the graphics lag. I get that they're doing an animation, but sometimes you want to just jump into the mode quickly. Look how long it takes to get into track mode. Track mode is my favorite. I love the horizontal layout for the tachometer. Give it a little gas. It does have a soft rev limiter when you are parked, so you can't rev it all the way up to its red line. All right, to activate launch control in the CT5-V, we've put the car into track mode using this toggle here. Then we're gonna mitigate the traction control. We're gonna change it to race 2 setting. Go ahead and floor the brake, floor the gas. It revs up just a little bit and off we go. This thing sounds so good. All right, we're gonna put it into manual mode by pulling back right here on this lever to activate those paddles, and I'll let you listen to this for a little bit. God, that V8 sounds good. Now, I do have one gripe with the car, and that is the 10-speed automatic transmission. Obviously, it's very easy to fix that. Just get the manual, which I highly recommend. But here's why I'm not the biggest fan, and I wish they would put a DCT in it, perhaps one from the Z06. Although there's too good of an opportunity to floor it right here, so we're gonna do that first. Okay, watch what happens when I downshift. It's a little slow, and it doesn't produce a good exhaust note. If you had a manual, that blip of the throttle when you downshift would sound fantastic. If you had a DCT, it would be the same. It kind of reminds me of the C7 Z06 in the sense that it smooths into that lower gear, but it doesn't give you that punch, which I would appreciate. The second thing is, if you're a little bit too late on the shift, it actually will pause for a while trying to figure out what to do if you're too high up in the rev range, and then it'll finally shift, which is kind of a little bit of a bummer. But honestly, that is really the only downside of the car, and just listen to the soundtrack. Oh my gosh. Now, surprisingly, the car is really easy to drive at the limit, even in Race 2 mode, which is a reduced level of traction control. You still have an amazing level of confidence that the car isn't going to completely lose control and spin out, which is a real incredible feat in a 668 horsepower rear-wheel drive car. Now, you can manage the traction control levels via the toggle on the steering wheel. I think that's such a cool placement for it. It also makes it really easy if you want to change between modes. I leave it in Race 2, but obviously there are a variety of different modes. We've got Sport, Dry, Wet, which you can use in the rain, and then Inactive, which turns it off, and then that activates this mode selector right here, which we will do. So let's turn it to Inactive, and then if we go to the mode selector down here, we can put it into snow and ice mode. There's My Mode, Sport Mode, and Tour Mode. Let's put it into Tour Mode. This is what you'd be driving around town, commuting, and surprisingly, it's very, very comfortable. The suspension does such a good job of being a really good luxury car when you need it to be, and then firming up and limiting body roll. This guy is parked in the middle of the street, which is an interesting technique. Mitigating body roll and giving you road feel without being too jarring all at the same time. Now, we've got a bunch of creature comforts and driver assistance features. We've got a beautiful heads-up display in front of me that shows the speed limit as well as how fast I'm going. You can adjust the height of that, but you can see it very, very well from the driver's seat. We've also got lane keep assist, which is activated by a button right here. Cooled seats, heated seats. I mean, it's pretty much got everything you need. We've also got integrated Apple CarPlay, which is fantastic, and really good speakers. Great visibility, very easy to drive this car at low speeds. It also has a really, really nice backup camera. We'll go ahead and pull over here to show you the graphics. It's so easy to maneuver around parking lots. One, because it's very easy to be comfortable in this car, but two, check this out. If we put it into reverse, look how clear the graphics are right there. We've got different views to look. That way you don't curb your wheels when you're parallel parking. And then also, if we put it into drive, you have a frontal camera. Not enough cars have a frontal camera. I think this looks absolutely fantastic. Now, let's go ahead and hop back out onto the road. Go ahead and put this back into track mode using the toggle selector. Now, I do feel like the graphics lag a little bit. We're in track and it's still lagging, not there yet. There we go. And then we're going to put it back into Race 2 mode. Flick some downshifts, and off we go again. This thing is so much fun to drive quickly. It's actually ridiculous. Oh my God, I love this car. It is awesome, and I can imagine with the manual, it's gotta be epic. I definitely have to test this thing out with the 3-pedal layout, because that is absolutely the way to go. But if you can't drive a manual and you really don't want to drive a manual, I will say, even if you can't drive a manual, just buy the thing and figure out how to drive it. It's not all that difficult. The automatic still works, obviously. I just have those a couple of gripes about the car. Seats hold you in place well. Even though these are the high-performance bucket seats, they're not all that jarring. They're still comfortable. Something like a Mercedes E63S, you get the sport buckets and they're not comfortable whatsoever. So, huge win in my book in that case. Compared to the E63 and the M5, it's definitely a little bit more lively at the limit because you've got that rear-wheel drive layout, although obviously in both the M5 and the E63 you can make those rear-wheel drive. I do wish there was a teeny bit more feedback in the steering wheel, a little bit more communication. That being said, as this is a luxury car, kind of first and foremost, I understand that you don't want it to be too jarring on the occupant as they're on the way to a business meeting, but just a little bit more feedback would be nice. I mean, how good does that sound? That is just ridiculous. Despite being a big vehicle, it really doesn't feel that way. It handles its weight extremely well, and I guess by today's standards, it's not actually that heavy or that big. But even in kind of low speed, really twisty environments, it does really well. Feels so stable, no body roll, and it's just fun and engaging. It doesn't feel computerized and overly easy to drive. It honestly feels just right. I am very impressed. Wow. There was a point, and still a little bit, especially after driving this thing, that I was thinking about getting rid of the Tesla Plaid and getting a manual CT5-V Blackwing. One of the great things about this car is because the engine has been around for a while, there's also a lot of supporting modifications. So if you wanted to go crazy with this, have a lot more power, you could easily do so. There's tried and true methods. And then because it's 2023, the availability of a 6-speed manual is just an opportunity that I think a lot of people are going to regret if they don't take that opportunity when all the manuals have gone away and the screaming V8s have gone away and it's all single gear electric vehicles. Well, guys, I really like this car. It's fantastic as a daily driver, and it's also fantastic in the canyons and on track. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Like always, please browse the channel and subscribe. I look forward to seeing you next video.